The people who don't make it through that process are the ones who typically are fearing the next event. They're like always fearing failure. So they either talk themselves out of it. So say they did marginal on say on a Thursday, Friday, they're already that entire night when they go to sleep, this is pretty standard. They would just fear the next day's events. So they had already quit in their mind before really the next day even happened, before they even woke up. So they already had it in their mind that they weren't going to do it. And I'd say that was the majority of people who didn't make it. And then after that 2-week process, that little mini airman program, I'd say we finished with 80 dudes total from like 130. So that's pretty much the number we started with for Pararescue 𝐸, which was another 9 weeks after that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? Like in all those selection processes, there's always those individuals that are fully physically capable, right? They're crushing it. And everyone that is in their leadership and through their selection process is like, this guy is a stud. He's going to fly through the training. And then within a couple days of attending whatever actual, the hardcore of the nitty gritty selection process, I think, they just get in their head too much of the longevity of it and maybe just the pressure of it, right? Not just looking at each event as like its own little challenge. They're thinking about the next event, and therefore the event they're currently doing, they kind of botch. Yeah. And I don't know, like, having been through 2 of those programs, what would you tell those individuals if they're trying to go again? Like what kind of recommendation would you give them to try to get out of their head?
I mean, just focus on each individual event as it comes. There's different approaches to that. Some guys would be like, just make it to breakfast and then make it to lunch, make it to the end of the day, just pretty much meal to meal. Just whatever you're going to do, no matter what you do, it's gonna be awful, So if you just accept that and know that, however you want to do it, like, hey, I'm getting paid to work out right now, 24/7. That's one way of looking at it. But you just focus on each event, and you don't care what's going to happen to you. Then really, you'll be fine. Like the physical standards are always a buildup from week 1 through week 9, so it's not horrendous what you do the first week. They build you up. Like each of your push-ups go up week to week for your tests. Same with pull-ups, underwaters, lessen the time for your underwaters. So nothing is impossible. You just have to accept the Groundhog's Day of each day is going to be the same, more or less, and just do each individual event one at a time,
What would you say is the similarities and the differences through this build-up process of the instructors of swimmer school and PJ pipeline?
The build-up as in, what would you say?
Well, I'm curious as to what, like, the leadership. Did you notice a lot of similarities as to how the instructors operated through swimmer school versus the PJs?
Yeah, I'd say the instruction was extremely similar. Obviously 2 kind of different jobs, but really similar mindset. I'd say the first 2 months of swimmer school were exactly like pararescue 𝐸. Just underwaters they're not terrible, but you just have to know when to calm yourself, especially when an instructor is harassing you, or, swimmer school, they're holding on to you, and you just got to relax and just do the task that you're told to do, and you're going to be all right. It's the same with pararescue 𝐸. Like, you do a thing called buddy breathing. You have to share a snorkel with you and your buddy, all while you're just getting your shirt ripped off and everything like that. People are plugging your snorkel, which doesn't sound that hard, but it can be difficult. They're going to make you. I feel like I did pretty well in pararescue 𝐸, and I honestly popped on my first underwater, the first time ever, on one buddy breathing section with my buddies with the California team right now. They just made it like, if they know you're crushing it, they're going to see how you accept failure, how you handle a failure for the rest of the day. So it doesn't matter if you're the strongest dude. And that's the thing too, like, we'll have guys that will go until they pass out underwater, but you only get 2 shallow water blackouts before they get rid of you. So you have to weigh all these things into that whole, like, I need to last as well as perform. So it was pretty funny. It was a good experience.
So there's a strategy to maybe potentially not pushing yourself to blacking out. It's like I should take the tap out, or I guess the popping. So popping, for everyone listening, is when you resurface instead of completing the evolution. Is that kind of a potential strategy if you're pushing your limits to the end? Maybe just pop around.
I don't recommend popping at all. That's never been a part of my mindset. But it was a task that seemed so impossible at the moment. Like my buddies never popped on an underwater before either, and they just did it. And whenever I run the tryouts here in Alaska for the 212th Rescue Squadron, we will do it. Even though you never pop, we're going to make sure that you do pop. We'll do some sort of task where either guys they'll black out under the water, we'll pull them out. They have that whole euphoric look in their face, blue in the lips. So we'll make everyone do that. It's just how do you bounce back from that? Are you going to be fearful from then on? Or are you going to go ahead and crush and execute whatever task you got from then on out? And I think that's actually a good thing to an instructor. Like if you're an instructor, it's a good thing to push on, say, your candidate, is to push them to failure. Actually see how they handle failure and bounce back, in my own opinion.
And how does that translate to the mission at hand? The fact that they fail and bounce back.
I think it's great because you as a climber know that sometimes you need a bail, or you take a whiffer on ice climbing or rock climbing on your trad gear. You don't want to fall, but sometimes things happen. Like, are you going to keep on climbing, or you never going to climb again? It's kind of one of those situations.
That's true. A lot of people have like a scare when they perform those recreational activities, and then they either never do it again, or it takes them forever to recover and get back to their mental capacity that they had before that fall or that slightly traumatic event. So yeah, and I'd say probably the training of that, and like my prior training, has potentially helped with that kind of mindset for sure. Now, how did you do when it came to having like the fact that you popped that one time?
I definitely didn't pop again after that, or they maybe just didn't allow it or something like that. But I was so angry at myself that I wouldn't accept that again. So I've always heard throughout my training, like, it's a marathon. Don't go 100% every day. My own opinion, I hate to save anything for like an event, whether doing an underwater or doing an overland event. If you're going to do it, you do it. Don't hold back, in my opinion. So I took that pop to heart, and just wanted to crush everything after that. And it's boldest of terms.
I'm sure people listening in are like, what's the specific drill? What made you pop? So you got to share that. Like, what happened? What was it specifically?
It's like they called it Black Thursdays. So every Black Thursday is pretty much the day that's not a Groundhog's Day. You have to put on boots, a uniform, like a buoyancy compensator, like a Triton vest. You put on a mask, snorkel, the whole gamut. And then now you're asked to do underwaters like that, buddy breathe like that. Sometimes when you're buddy breathing, passing the snorkel, they'll maybe cap you more than normal.
So capping is where, you plug the snorkel, it seems.
Yeah. And they're only supposed to cap so many times, but they may have capped more than, the allotted amount, but it's all good. There's nothing wrong with that, honestly. Yeah. So that's pretty much what happened. And it was a different technique. Like I think if you remember from swimmer school, where instructors would not float, they'd be bricks when you're buddy towing them.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of one of those, like, instructors would just lay on top of you. So you have to like try to tread to stay above water and breathe and pass the snorkel. And so they're pretty much keeping you underwater, and you have to like fight for the surface and to make sure your buddy's breathing as well. You're not just stealing all the air. So
Yeah.
it's a good little teamwork exercise. But that's the one that got me.
Are the ethics of that drill typically one breath per person, or you take a couple, pass it?
Yeah, you take a breath, and sometimes it would be half a breath. You know, you might suck up some water. You can't be selfish. You have to make sure your buddy's got a breath, and it has to be teamwork. It has to be reciprocal. So he has to be thinking that about you so you can last I can't remember, 2 minutes, 30 seconds that you have to buddy breathe while getting capped and being brought down to the bottom of the pool. And, you know, it's just one of those things like when your swimmer school instructors holding on to you, you take them to the bottom of the pool, they're ripping the mask off your face. You're sucking in water. It's kind of that same principle, you know.
It's a pretty cool drill. So is it like one instructor per person doing this snorkel drill?
Yeah. One instructor, and they usually have fins, and they usually just roll you underwater, cap snorkels. You can't let go of the snorkel at all, or you fail. You can't pop. So that popping for a buddy breathing drill is pretty much not breathing off the snorkel and just going to the surface, taking a breath, and then going back underwater. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So basically not using the snorkel and your mouth resurfacing versus just the snorkel or your top of your head. That's a crazy drill. And do they still do that to this day?
Yeah. I mean, we still do it in Alaska. I'm pretty sure they still do that. And I think it's called assessment and selection is what the Air Force calls it now. But they definitely do it in pre-dive before you go to combat dive. So, yep, they still do that drill. And I had an instructor at Pararescue USCG. His name was Hats, and he's a funny guy, but he's real. He's just like, I don't know what your problem is. You just hold on to the snorkel, hold on your buddy, and you just breathe off the snorkel. That's all it is. And he's right. If you just do those things, you're going to be fine.
That's breaking it down. Wait, so what do you mean by holding, not to get too in the nitty-gritty of this drill, but it's really captivating. What do you mean by holding on to your buddy? You do hold on to the other guy the whole time as well?
Yeah. So you're holding on to the snorkel, then you're holding on to your buddy, and you're just passing the snorkel back and forth. Yeah. So if you never let go of the snorkel. So if you get ripped away from your buddy, you both have to hold on to the snorkel, whether you're getting like gator rolled, put to the bottom, whatever it may be. You don't let go of the snorkel.
But both of you sometimes are holding the snorkel, like even if you're getting gator rolled. Interesting.
Yep.
That's a fun drill. That's a really cool drill.
That's good. Yeah.
And I've heard recently, I think swimmer schools, they finally adopted we had somebody talk on one of our previous episodes about jiu-jitsu and how they've adopted that into the whole swimmer program. And I think now they have basically underwater jiu-jitsu, like little matches or whatnot, where like two swimmers come together and they have to perform the specific movements that they've been taught to get in or out of different situations. It seems it seems like a good evolution from what I hear, So I want to get into a little bit your psychology going and surviving and succeeding through these two programs. And I guess one of my questions was, what was your why in succeeding in both of those schools? What keeps you driven through the very grueling process?
I think the will to, I guess, challenge yourself in its most basic terms is I really wanted to challenge myself. I didn't even join the Coast Guard to do the swimmer program. I didn't even know about it, honestly. I just joined the Coast Guard to join the military and travel. And then my time as a non-rate in the Coast Guard, I was like, man, nothing seems challenging until I went to Port Angeles, the air station there. And just all it took was a couple of swimmer, the chief there and the first class there were just like, you'd make a good swimmer. And I was just like, what's that? And then they showed me what it was. I was like, that's pretty awesome. And I really just wanted to challenge myself and learn how to swim and do all those things. And that's what it was like for me in the Coast Guard, is I really wanted to challenge myself. And then as I got into the job, I was like, man, this job is awesome. It puts you in some extreme positions on some SAR cases. And then I started to learn more and more about the military and different jobs. And then pararescue came into mind. And same thing in the pararescue pipeline is I just wanted to challenge myself, learn more, and I really wanted to do the job. It's very similar. You still do civil SAR, and then you also do combat search and rescue, augment other teams, whether they're, Rangers, SEALs, what have you. That just always appealed to me, and it's just always kept me like self-motivated to do that. And I think a lot of it comes down is the dude next to you. That's really what it comes down to. Like the longer I do this job, I think that's what I would miss the most is like just the guys the like-minded guys you work with. If I went out in the civilian world, it's hard to find that type of environment. Bunch of pipe hitters, knuckle draggers that you just enjoy being with and that share the same passion as you do, doing a really cool job.
Yeah, you touched on a couple of things here, and my question is, what is your why when you're really in the suck, right? Like, what keeps you kicking when you're kind of on the verge of quitting? And you touched on it's about the guy next to you, and that's something I've talked about in we have a program called the Hold Your Breath Like a Rescue Swimmer program. And yeah, I dive into the underwaters and kind of the mental process in one of the chapters. And one of the things I explain is, think of the guy that's next to you and think it's not just about you. It's about the fact that that person next to you hasn't quit through this process yet. So don't you dare quit on them. And it seems like that was potentially one of your processes of not quitting, is thinking of the person next to you and the fact that you guys are a team. And if one quit, then it incites the other to quit. So you're not going to do that because they're not going to do that. Would that be fair to say that was kind of one of your motivating driving forces in the suck?
Yeah, absolutely. Quitting's infectious, as you know, but what also is infectious in a good way is showing that you can beat whatever it is that you're faced with. And I think it all boils down to like a hard civil SAR mission, or even in combat. You're going to be faced with adversity, and if you can remain cool, calm, and collected in hard situations and show people that you could do these situations and succeed, it's all about the person you're going out to get. If you can get them out of the situation, I mean, that's really all that matters. So if you can think about that while you're doing these hard tasks, whether it be a underwater or just the longest ruck with the heaviest load ever, just grueling through that process and doing it well. I mean, that's the mindset to have. Like, just think that you're doing that to get someone out of a tight situation, because those are very real. Sooner or later in this job, whether it's swimmer or pararescue, you will be in a cold, dark, and stormy sooner or later. And it's just going to be you. And in pararescue, it's probably going to be you and a buddy or two, your team. You have to learn to adapt and succeed for the patient that you're going to get.
So you would say that would be an additional mindset tool that you would use, is thinking of the survivor and the person in distress that you're working so hard to hopefully someday assist.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you do the job for rescue swimmer or pararescue. It's you're not shooting people in the face. I mean, sometimes some guys get that opportunity, but you just have to know going into that job that that's your primary job, and just take it serious. And I think that's what separates swimmer pararescue from or other special operations jobs from the civilian world, is we can do those things that other people can't, or else anybody could do our job. Parachuting, all these things that we do, they're really not hard, but the fact that we do our job is because we can push the limits training, what have you, have put us in.
Yeah, I always like breaking down that mindset. Well, first of all, it's called the rescue swimmer mindset, so I guess that's part of what we should be doing.
It's all good. It's all the same, really. Yeah, same principle.
But yeah, I like the similarities, and I think most people that succeed in any kind of athletic disciplinary endeavor is they do share those similarities of their mindset. And yeah, you thinking of the survivor down the road, I had a similar trick. It was like the same, but it's kind of embarrassing because I think I was young enough where high school wasn't that far away. I think it was like 3 years, after finishing high school that I was in the swimmer program. And I remember I had like a high school crush who, I was too shy at the time to to say anything to or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But going through the swimmer program, I was like, man, if that person was drowning right now, like when it was really hard underwater, I'd be like, man, I can't quit on that person. So like, you play those little mind games of like, hey, there's like somebody